All right. Happy Saturday night. An unexpected surprise here. Was not expecting to be kicking off the show, but the person who will be in my seat is a couple minutes behind, is on her way. Ashley Mailloux, of course, a special Mohawk Million edition of Woodbine Live. Dan Torchman here. Robert Reid Jr. is the guy who's going to be anchoring a lot of this coverage. Robert, how you doing tonight?
Oh, fantastic! The card's already been phenomenal. We had a disqualification already in the She's a Great Lady, just some crazy stuff in there. But hey, the main event's coming up, and I couldn't be more thrilled. And for those of you, hey, listen, don't go away because we're all, yeah, I know you're all here to see Ashley, but she'll be with us shortly. So please stay tuned.
Well, we've got a race coming up here, race 7 coming up at Mohawk, Woodbine-Mohawk right now. It's 0 minutes. It looks like the horses are they're just about ready to get going here. You have a lean here you want to share with the viewers?
Yeah, it's the Milton final, and I'll be honest with you, this one here looks like it's wide open to me. I know that Kissing in the Sand, my top selection in the journal is 8 to 5, but I'll be honest, that type of price is not one that I'd be willing to take on this one. I think it's a completely wide open event. But I did go with number 3, Kissing in the Sand. I thought last time she raced fantastic in her elimination. She did get the job done, coming through late and beating a tiring Warwie Butte, who is the 2 in here at 4-1 currently. So much more the 6, a local entity to our circuit here at Mohawk Park. And 8-1 on that horse is one that I'd be looking to take right now. So much more the 6. That's some pretty good value. Treacherous Rain, Bob McClure, 6-1. He's already having a big night, is one that I'd look at too. But I'll be honest, I don't think you can go in a wrong direction here as long as you're trying to be on the right side of value, because this race is wide open.
Well, I like the sounds of 8-1 on a night like this. First of all, tell us if you mentioned the DQ earlier. You notice anything about in terms of the way the track's playing? Anything that we should be looking out for in terms of trends and patterns as we head into these next 3 or 4 races leading up to the big one?
Yeah, well, that one was just kind of a weird one because they went so fast early that the horses up front were kind of collapsing, and the best horse in the race ended up getting her nose under the wire. She had all kinds, but unfortunately, she caused interference when she did finally shake loose late. To me, I think the track's playing, pretty fair so far. Horses that have won, have been, on front, turning for home. So, I wouldn't say, though, it's an overly speed favoring track yet, but we might see a little bit more of that in the next few. This one should be a good indication because, again, like I said, it's kind of a wide open one. So who's going to be on front? Probably the 2, Warwie Butte. Last time she did tire pretty badly in the last 16th, but she's been known to throw in some fantastic efforts up here at Mohawk Park. And when the chips are down, so to speak, with rock solid connection. So, I wouldn't be surprised if she does get the job done in here. And 7-2 is definitely not a bad price on that one either.
All right, our good friend Sean Alvarez combining some of your input here with his own hunches and going with a bit of an exacta here. He says, "I have no clue about harness, just along for the ride," as are many of us. But you're in good hands with Robert and with your other co-host here, who has arrived now, Ashley Mailloux. Ashley,
There
welcome.
she is.
Hello, what's going on, guys?
Not much. We're having some. You know what? Hey, by the way, so last time, remember, I didn't break it open on air, but I know you guys go crazy for it down south of the border.
Flavor. It looks like the black cherry.
Black cherry, and they were fully stocked at the liquor store here in the city that I live. So I grabbed quite a few of them, and I know you guys would like that one. But here we go, going to the gate here. Ashley, who do you like in here?
You know what? I kind of look at the prices. I mean, Kissing in the Sand looked tough, but I thought Warwie Butte was probably the next logical. Kind of looking at the odds, though. We know this is no secret. I've been a big fan of Stonebridge Soul for about 6 months now. So, the horse is 9-1, but if I was playing a try or a super, I think that's a horse you could use for 3rd or 4th. Caviar Dally is another one. That's the Brett Pelling, horse. To me, it's kind of the top 3 there would be the Kissing in the Sand, Caviar Dally, and then the 2 Warwie Butte.
You're using a 99-1 shot on the ticket, though.
I would in this spot. I mean, kind of look at
racing classy gals
gold standard and has had some good performances against Charton, who we don't see tonight. So
Goes with big speed from the outside.
Here we go.
Fires down the center. Kissing in the sand, steps forward off the car. She'll drop third.
Lead the Rose, a local horse going right to the chooch.
Butte, she'll tuck fifth. Caviar Ally sixth off the speed.
I know quite a few guys that were all over this horse tonight. I was not of that school of thought, but I do know quite a few that were all over Lead the Rose.
26-1, and she'll take this field.
Her stablemate won in very impressive fashion earlier.
Up and at it third, Kissing in the Sand. As Jameson pulls the trigger, here comes Kissing in the
Drink
sand.
that claw.
Up outside.
It's good. I'll be honest with you. I had some people tell me the black cherry wasn't that great, but it's delicious.
So good.
Leader Rose accepts the puck.
I'm a cherry Pepsi guy, so
you gotta love it. Yeah.
Popping out
got a
as
little cherry.
Jingle sit out there just for a moment, try and fish out McClure, and it looks like McClure took the bait. 54 1.5. So it's Treacherous Rain to come first over now. Warwee U Butte gets a friend to follow out there from in fifth, scurrying through at the rail six.
Off the pace tonight with Warwee U Butte.
She was last to the quarter, now sixth at the inside, but she's run into a serious blind switch. Outside goes Caviar Alley into the flow. Backfield
so much more. Finally moving a little bit.
Three wide.
Kissing in the Sand's moving pretty well right now on the front end. I'll tell you that.
Opening up a big lead here, Kissing in the Sand. As she's got
Be a big win for Double J.
22-1, Kissing in the Sand, straight and strong as she powers into the lane.
Looks fantastic.
By 4. Leader Rose back into second.
Looks like race over.
Rail. Yep. Treacherous Rain on the outside fourth.
He's going to be second.
Jameson is on autopilot lead here with Kissing in the Sand as she's wrapped up coming to the line. And it's Kissing
Caviar Alley flying from the back, closing with every nope, not getting there, I don't think. Looked like Lead the Rose held on for second, 149. So, I mean, my top choice in the journal, I just did not expect 3-2. I'll be honest. I did not see her getting bet that heavily, but hey, she certainly won like a 3-2 shot or better. So,
you see that late move that So Much More made? I'm just moved way too late, but that was like, I mean, closed a ton of ground late. That's the one that I ended up playing. Let me see if our buddy Sean caught his exacta here. If the 8 held on the rail. Leader Rose, what do you think? Did the 10 get up?
I thought so in the live shot. Yeah, pretty easy actually.
Oh yeah, there you go. All right, well, Sean caught the exacta.
Close for third.
Between the 1 and the 10.
The 1 and the 10, yeah.
Oh, look at this angle. Look at this camera. It's a new camera.
It's a beautiful shot. I believe Curtis McDonald does that work with the what do they call that cam? It's like on a wire. I think they call it Sky Cam from in the NFL, but it's just an incredible shot. It really is neat.
Cool.
Ashley, did you see the disqualification in the She's a Great Lady?
I didn't. Honestly, like my day consisted of a little Monmouth Park because obviously this is not my usual setup. I've been in New Jersey for the last week. I go back to Buffalo tomorrow. So I went to Monmouth Park for a bit and then took a little break from racing and then had some Wi-Fi issues and now I'm here.
Well, you missed a very crazy finish. 5 horses across the wire. And I mean, I've never seen a race for that big of a purse finish with 5 horses literally almost in a line across the wire. And Andrew McCarthy's horse, Scarlet Hanover, was much the best. But when she shook loose, or before she shook loose, she bothered a couple of horses and got DQ'd after winning. So
yeah.
real tough situation there. But Caviar Audrey got placed up, Nancy Tactor, and Nick Jinkra.
Speaking of Nancy, that's your girl, Ashley, right? I mean, she maybe get her back on the line now.
I know she came around last year on the show, and she was a ton of fun. And then I believe she had a big night yesterday. There were some big races. I know Caesars had a bunch of races, and she won one yesterday. My friend was really excited because she got to kind of paddock the horse. Kind of a cool experience. I think it was a $100,000 race, but I mean, Nancy's had an incredible year overall. You think about Tall Dark Stranger and just everything. And Manchengo. She kind of has the creme de la creme, the top-notch horses in her barn. She continues to do well. And like you mentioned, Caviar Audrey got placed up. Kudos to her. I mean, she's done a tremendous job.
All right, I think I should just jump off. Let you guys do your thing, right?
Sure. I mean, we can stick around. I mean, we love having you.
I'll let you guys do your thing. You guys have a couple of cool guests coming on too. I don't want to ruin the surprise, so stay tuned, everybody. They got a couple of good guests coming up. I'm going to jump off the screen so you can enjoy the actual input from the experts here. So I don't know what Ashley just did there. I think she basically just threw her camera down.
No, my dog is trying to go under the table for a ball, so technical difficulty.
All right, this should be an interesting one. Good luck, guys. I'll see you.
All right, thanks, Dan. All right.
Yeah, not much price is there. But we saw this last time we were on the show on the special edition, right? Like those local horses actually kind of fare well in this competition. You see Lit de Rose getting second with Louis Philippe Bois.
Yeah, really driven aggressively too, and that was probably what gave her best shot in there. And it was such an open, kind of a wide open race, and again, I'm happy for the connections because I'm a big fan of that horse. I thought so much more would be able to get into it, get a little closer. I think she ended up fifth. But a couple decent performances by local horses. And hey, Jody Jamieson, really happy for him getting the win there and such a big event.
Well, I think you talk about kind of wide open. You look at 3 of the 4 names. I mean, they're kind of big names in the sport, right? Kissing in the Sand, Caviar Alley, who needs kind of no introduction. And you talk about her and kind of her races against Sharton, and there's kind of been a nice little rivalry there. And I think so far this year, the rivalry, the way it was last year, hasn't been the same, right? I mean, they kind of been schedules and such, but hopefully we'll kind of see them from here. A couple months left in 2020. Maybe they'll meet back. Who kind of knows what the schedule is there with the TVG kind of final for the fall weekend there in late November. But you see that one, and then you have Treacherous Rain, who I think sometimes people forget about, but a very, very accomplished mare in her own right. So, this is a good competition. And, to see a local horse kind of perform well, that's something. And even with we talk about the drivers. I mean, obviously the drivers now are kind of traveling up there and they've been able to kind of go with COVID and stuff, but some of these drivers are still getting big calls on horses they typically wouldn't drive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's, like I said, that's why I'm so happy for Jody, one of the best drivers up here. And, the one thing, angle I always love up here in any horse is the first time Jody jumps aboard, and he certainly did a great job with Kissing in the Sand. And last week got the job done winning, but I think, the trip he gave her really, had her breathing fire tonight because she'd have to be brave. She sat inside, was on a helmet, and then, blew by them in the stretch. So, but I think we got our first guest about to join us. There he is. There he is, the harness eye guy, Derek Givner. So 2 things I want to say before we get started here is you guys have something in common, both of you. Number 1, you have my respect and admiration. Okay. Number 2, I have butchered your names on so many occasions. All right. So when I first met Ashley, I used to call her Ashley Mailloux, right? And it's Ashley Mailloux. And Derek, your name, I'll be honest with you, it was a tough one for me. But it's Givner, right?
It is Givner. The W is pronounced as a V, like Dirk Nowitzki in basketball, or any other person with a German derivation.
Perfect. There you go. So I got it right. I'm happy for that. But Derek, thanks for joining us tonight. And the real cool thing about this card, and why I really wanted you to come aboard with us is that, we worked on a project that you certainly spearheaded and I gave an assist with, and that was ranking horses for the Mohawk Million for the last, I think, better part of the last 2 months. I was hoping to kind of discuss a little bit, what that process was like and how did you kind of map out who might end up here?
It was actually kind of interesting how it developed from start to finish, because in the beginning, I'm just looking for who are the best horses out there, just trying to figure out who the top 10 are, watching a lot of races, whether it's from the Red Mile, the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes circuit up at Woodbine. And then as we got a few weeks in, it's like, well, which horses aren't going to come? And then you're trying to figure out who might come and who won't come. And then at the end, basically the last week or 2, calling people up and saying, well, what are you going to do with the spot? Because, just because these horses are good, if the right owners don't own them, it doesn't really matter because they won't be there.
Right. And you and I were emailing each other back sometimes late at night trying to figure this out and piece it together when we were doing the piece for Daily Racing Forum. Were the spot holders or the connections of the horses that might come up, were they forthcoming with their decisions, or were they kind of playing close to the vest?
No, I think everyone was pretty forthright. I mean, I texted actually Julie Miller and asked her about Venerate. She obviously didn't have a spot, but it was a good horse that could possibly come, and obviously ended up coming. And you know what? I read between the lines. She didn't say, "Hey, we're not coming. Hey, we are coming," but you could tell by her response that they were thinking about it. I also texted with John Fielding, and he said, "This is the horse that we have, but I'm still trying to work on other things." So everyone pretty much told me, "Hey, the truth of what they were doing." I mean, the owners of Captain Corey and also Southwind Tyrion. I pretty friendly with Tristan Salzberg, and I emailed him back and forth with him, and he said, we're gonna have a meeting this time. We're gonna discuss it, and then after the meeting, he would email me back and say, "This is what we're doing." So I think everyone was pretty open and honest about it, which is great. I mean, you need people to be open and honest, because without that, we're not going to get very far.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, who on the list? Was or maybe who not on the list was your biggest surprise in making the trip up?
Because I've been paying such close attention, I really wasn't surprised by any of these horses. I mean, because you knew some of these owners were trying to sell their spots, and you knew the horses that would consider purchasing those weren't coming. So you knew they were going to have to scramble for something. And I think in the case of many of these owners, let's say Fashion Farms, they're send up Bravado Fashion. I don't think 3 weeks ago they had any idea, and neither did I have any idea Bravado Fashion was going to show up. But if you look at his last couple of races, were actually pretty good. And it's better to send up a horse that, shows up and maybe could finish fifth than sending no one and just losing the money.
Yeah, I mean, this event's got 3 maidens and 3 fillies, and the filly that's all the talk of the town really is Donna Soprano, and that's the one thing we notice week over week, especially in the last few, is the ascension of her up the rankings up to number 2, prior to obviously the final horses being announced. And now both you and I think agree, and we'll get Ashley's pick as well, that she is the horse to beat. What do you think of her progress?
We actually had some back and forth about Donna Soprano versus Macho Martini, I believe, where I was firm that, Donna Soprano had to go, and you're like, I don't know, they both deserve to go. And I'm like, Donna Soprano's, I mean, if you watch those races that she put in, she was just so spectacular, where Macho Martini was, he was okay. And to me, Donna Soprano has just been spectacular. I mean, someone's really going to have to step up in this race to beat her. I mean, her efforts have been super. I didn't think her trip was as bad as some other people did last time out, and I think it was the Peaceful Way final. I thought it wasn't the easiest trip of all time, but I didn't think it was the most difficult either. She kind of sold it in nicely, and yeah, she made a big move, but I think she was much the best. When you're much the best, you can make that move every time.
Yeah, I was very impressed by that move, but like you said, being that much the best in there, you need to make that move, right? I just think that we haven't seen anything close to her bottom yet. I think that not fully extended in any of her starts. And you were right, because we did have a few debates, and I want to find out if there was a decision to be made there between the two, or if it was just clear-cut Donna, because I really thought that Macho Martini might still get the spot. Then he got wiped out last week in OSS Gold. So, I mean, that kind of solidified it for me. But no, you were definitely right. You said Donna all along, and that's who they went with. So kudos to you on that one. I think, yeah, we're going to have a special guest coming on shortly. But Ashley, any questions for Derek?
No, I was kind of curious now to know kind of like what you guys were thinking selection-wise in this race. And I think Mohawk Million, and this being kind of the inaugural event, right? It reminds me a lot of what we see in thoroughbred racing now with like the Pegasus, right? And kind of buying in spots and having sell your spots or do it however you want to do it, right? I kind of agree with you guys. I mean, Donna Soprano looks pretty tough. I mean, I kind of like venerate a little bit if I'm trying to beat her. Just kind of looking at the girls against the boys sort of angle. But I agree kind of what Derek was saying. I don't think any of the horses are shocking to see in this race. I don't think there's anyone where we're like, wow, I'm surprised this horse went in this spot. Just looking at who the connections were and who had spots in the race. I think on the flip side of that, we look at some of these horses and we might say, they're going to have their swimming in deeper waters than they have been before. And kind of seeing the field, for me at least, couple of these horses I've seen at the Meadowlands over the course of the summer. And so to see their names, I'm like, oh, I'm a little shocked that they're coming here. But at the end of the day, I'm not really shocked, just knowing who the connections were. So not any specific questions for Derek. I was more interested to see kind of like your insight on the race. And, everyone kind of likes Donna Soprano as the top pick.
Yeah, and Derek, so if you gave us maybe a price horse, who would it be?
Let's see. I'm doing that because there are a few horses in this race that I wouldn't be shocked if they won the race if things went their way. Alter is a very talented filly. If she decides to trot today, she could definitely be there. She's good enough to play with these on her best. Instaglam, I think she might be the best filly in the race, but I just wasn't really impressed with her start last time. Maybe she needed to start. Maybe she'll be better here. I've seen efforts from her that would put her right with any of these horses on any day, in my opinion. So she's one that can win, but post 9 is going to be tough. I don't care for Venerate at all. I'm completely, I won't be using Venerate on any of my tickets anywhere in any exotics, because I hate the second tier for this horse. Yeah, he can come away behind the 1 or the 2, and I think the 2's got a better chance of leaving here than the 1. But 2-year-old trotter, second tier, this horse has made a break in the past. I want no part of Venerate on my tickets. I'll play against, and that's how I'm going to get my value by not using Venerate.
I mean, I can't blame you for that. We've seen the second tier, cause havoc with a lot of really good horses here, and it's not like on a half or a 5/8 where the rail horse is always gunning, because you don't have to gun when you're on a 7/8 surface. So it does become a little bit tricky from the second tier. I do like Venerate a little bit. I think I picked him for second in the journal, probably just because I really am a big fan of the horse. I mean, he was incredible in the final of the Kentucky Sire Stakes. But yeah, I certainly can't blame you for looking for some value by tossing him, all together, especially from that difficult starting spot. Coming on the track here for the Metro, Derek, you have a pick for us in the Metro?
I love a buck of Bet Hanover. I mean, you're 1 to 9 though. There's really not much money to be made on a 1 to 9 shot. I do want to throw in one other things just about the Mohawk Million. In the times, Venerate went 151 and change at the Red Mile. That 151 and change mile probably is pretty similar to the 53 mile that Donna Soprano went in the Peaceful Way. So it's probably close to 2 seconds difference almost between Red Mile on a good day versus Mohawk Park on a regular day.
Yeah, no, certainly I can agree with that. But it looks like we've got Mr. Scott Young joining us right now.
Sorry for interrupting, guys.
Hey, no worries, no worries. Listen, when a big star like you joins us, Scott, you can interrupt us anytime. So Scott Young joining us. And, obviously driver, of number 7 on a streak in the Mohawk Million. How you doing, Scotty?
Really good. Thank you. Happy to be here. Excited to be here. So let's get the show on the road.
So just a couple of weeks ago, one of the biggest moments in your career.
For sure. Say? Yeah. Oh, probably the biggest one to this
biggest?
Point. Yeah.
So on a streak, going for, winning the William Wellwood and the Golden Ticket. You held off a real good colt in South Wintirion and obviously the stablemate too, and Macho Martini. What were you thinking nearing the wire there? Was it were you pretty confident you were going to hang on, or was it a little bit in doubt?
My guy, he felt good. There's no question about that. But halfway down the lane when I was still calling on him, and Yannick, he wasn't really getting to me. Like, he was beside me, but he wasn't getting to me. He I thought to myself about a pylon before the wire, you're gonna win the William Wellwood. So it was there was some emotions, that's for sure, but I was pretty pumped up.
Wow. So going for 600,000 in that one, your biggest win of your career, and now we're going for 1.3 million tonight. What was the week leading up to this like?
Same as normal. I raced every day. I was at Mohawk Monday, Tuesday. I was in Elora Wednesday. I was at Mohawk Thursday. I actually was in Elora last night. So, just the same week. I came into Mohawk on Wednesday and trained on a streak, actually. So he trained great, and all systems were go for tonight.
Fantastic. And I was wondering about the relationship with Luke Blay and Determination Stable.
Yep.
You're picking up a lot of their, talented horses. I'd say, Bob obviously gets first call.
Yes.
And then you get some really talented, horses after that. So how did that come to be?
Bobby's a really good friend of mine, one, and so when he got the contract a couple of years ago with Determination and Luke, I'd actually drove for Luke a couple times. I would say 4 or 5 years ago, like just randomly at Flamborough and Grand River and stuff, and did fairly well. And then just kind of built a relationship with Luke through Bob and with Bobby, obviously. And anytime they ever brought anything to the preferred at Flamborough or Grand River the last couple of years, I always got the call on them. So, and he's got really, really nice horses. So anytime he brought them to those tracks, they they did fairly well, which obviously made me look good. And I've been good with Luke, and they kind of like me because I'll listen, but I also give feedback too, right? You know what I mean? They they kind of want somebody that they can, I don't want to say trust, but have a guy that knows their horses and somebody they can talk to, I guess. So, and it's good with Bobby. We can kind of work together. So he this year, anytime they got a double in, I started making my move to Mohawk there last winter and started getting some drives quite a bit. And Luke asked me if they happen to get in together, do you want to drive the other one? I was like, no problem over here. You know what I mean? So, because I would say, the second one, or Bobby's backup, the second one's better than most people's first. So
right.
I wasn't complaining, that's for sure.
No, that's fantastic. And you know what? I almost view it when I look at you guys. It almost reminds me like a NASCAR team. You guys are obviously every man for themselves, but you guys look genuinely happy for each other, and that's just fantastic to see.
Yeah, I grew up with Bobby and a bunch of other guys. We all got our license basically same time within a couple of years, and we all started at Hanover Raceway and Clinton, and stuff like that. Just driving the cheap ones, learning how to drive. So Bobby got the call to come up here, I think about 1.5 years, 2 years before me, and obviously he's done very, very well. But we've always talked about it. You know what I mean? He's always told me, come on, ready when you are. So it I tried to get in this winter, and it went well. But I can't thank Luke and Serge and Bobby enough for giving me the opportunity to drive the other ones, because we go for some great money, that's for sure.
Well, you're doing a great job with it, Scotty. Ashley, do you have anything for Scott?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about it. The last year, right? I mean, you've been obviously driving more at Mohawk and picking up kind of drives. What's the experience been like? I mean, obviously it's a bigger circuit than what you've been on before, but it seems like the opportunities have been plentiful. And obviously we've been talking kind of about On a Streak, highlight of your career. But besides even On a Streak, it seems like things are going quite well and you're learning the ropes and getting the opportunities.
Yeah, no, exactly. Actually, I was fortunate enough. My dad was stabled at Mohawk for 30 years, my whole life. So I did grow up around this place quite a bit. And, just like any driver, when you get your license, you obviously got to go to the small tracks and get experience, right? But I've always drove here, you know what I mean? Like throughout my career, just, random ones and stuff, and always loved it. And that was always my goal to, just be one of the regular guys and come here and, compete every night. But, like last winter, I kind of got on a roll. A couple of guys went away for a month, and there was, I don't want to say limited drivers, but I was kind of the new face in town. And so I got some work, and then I ended up doing well, and then I got my 1,000th win within like a month and a bit of being here. So I was kind of the guy they were talking about for like 2 months straight. So it, the work's continued. I was a little nervous after COVID because I kind of missed April and May to, finalize whether I was going to stay or go back to the B tracks, but I just kind of stuck with it, and the work's been there, and it's been great.
Fantastic. Well, Scotty, you got a job to do tonight, so we don't want to keep you too long.
No, it's okay. I appreciate you guys having me.
I have a question, Scotty.
Sorry, go ahead, Derek.
Can I ask you a question, Scotty?
Yeah.
On a streak, if you look at his lines, he really wasn't passing anyone race after race, and then you put him on the lead, and he kind of really dug down deep. Do you think being on the lead kind of changed his attitude at all, or something?
Yeah, a little bit. The only I would say he wouldn't pass a whole much because I was always chasing Macho Martini. So it's not that he wasn't passing. Like he was coming home 28 seconds. It's just I was I was coming as much as they were in front of me. So I found he maybe wasn't going by a whole many, but he was definitely holding his own. You know what I mean? It's not like he was letting too many go by. But he wears the blind bridle with the holes in the side so he can see another horse. And the front end's actually not really his game, I wouldn't think, because he's a little green up there every once in a while. But when Yannick come to him and he could see that other horse, he sure did dig down deep for me.
All right. Well, Scotty, thanks for joining us. And real quick, listen, we know you're a great ambassador for the sport. You always have been. And real quick, before we go to show the Metro, you're my son's favorite driver because when he was just 1 year old, you brought a horse right up to him at Grand River Raceway, and I remember he was just in awe.
Good.
You do an incredible job always, and I can guarantee you, my wife and my son, they're cheering for you tonight, and so are we.
No,
go get him, kid.
appreciate it, guys. I thank you very much.
Thanks, Scotty. All right, we have the Metro. There's Mike Perbosi tuning in just in time for a Metro pick.
Hello, how's everybody?
How's it going, Mike? Of NahooPicks.com, North American harness updates. What are you liking here?
Oh, I think the favorite looks pretty tough, but I do like the 10 a little as a price underneath. I think maybe it could sit, and you got Waugh there inside draw. He's 61 to 1 currently, so
Actually, a real big price in that horse. I'm a little bit surprised because I thought that one might be a bit of a wise guy horse hit the ticket, but I guess with a 1 to 5 shot, the odds are inflated. Who did I go with? In the journal, I've got 3865. While the shadow looks like he's blasting off the wings.
And pacing. Leading speed at the rail from You Can't Touch This. Bayfield Beach in the center. Far outside, Lawless Shadow. Highland Beach's best into the mix.
Ashley, can they beat this horse?
Twin Bee Fighters, 6th through at the rail is a Buckabat Hanover. 7th away, left out Exploit. Further back towards the inside is Control Heaven. Final 2 are No Better Joy.
It all depends on how quickly he can get to the front here.
Yeah.
6 flat.
The longer he waits to go, the harder it's going to be to win. I think.
That's right.
Bayfield scoots to the front.
Yannick wants the front. I'm sure Bob's happy to take the 2-hole.
This closing up the gap into 3rd. Highland Beach's best is 4th, 15 side.
Yannick's not happy unless he's on the lead.
I knew that was coming.
Times 2 for Control.
He's looking around. He's looking for Bet a Buck right now.
Last is Better.
Well, that's the only horse he would ever consider giving it up to.
5-1, a pretty sensible pace up front.
He's gonna have to earn it.
Methodical approach from Bet a Buck here.
Spot is Lawless Shadow. 3rd outside of Buckabat Hanover. Outside.
People get on the first over trip, but first over is not a bad trip if you have the best horse.
Control Heaven. 7th up on the is No Better Joy. Trapped in Highland Beach's best, along with
good horses overcome everything.
Better Sun winding up. They're over to 3.
You thought Macho Martini didn't get a bad trip in the Wellwood.
On Bayfield Beach. Gingras got that 2. Bayfield Beach is upset minded. 3/4 in 122 and 4. A Buckabat Hanover's going to have to do more. He's on the outside spinning his wheels. Here off his cover though comes Exploit, and it's Exploit on the far outside.
The horse that Garnett really liked.
Wow.
Beach in the late to the mile. Bayfield Beach, and it's Exploit. Exploit is going to make the top board.
Certainly a shocker here, folks. I
at 35.
I did not see that one coming. Exploit getting the job done.
There. I mean, I wouldn't see that horse kind of getting in the top 3, let alone, winning.
Yeah. Garnett picked this horse on top.
Did he really?
Yep.
Wow.
That's incredible.
The other one for Tony Alanya.
And I'm assuming, there's got to be a big show pool in here, does there not? There's got to be. Yep. Well, not nothing crazy, but 74.4% of the show pool on a Buckabat Hanover, and he missed. Not the best night for Andrew McCarthy. After getting DQ'd in the She's a Great Lady, and then here not getting the job done with the Buckabat Hanover. Nothing wrong with the drive though. Just the horses didn't really seem to have it tonight.
No, I think kind of looking at the fractions of the race and stuff, I think that's the best way to put it, right? Just wasn't kind of up to snuff, up to par. It wasn't kind of firing on all cylinders. Kind of looking at Bayfield Beach and Yannick. Yannick got to the front pretty early on and was able to kind of sustain the rally that he had. But in this case, Exploit just had like a late turn of foot. So, Tony still wins, but probably not with the horse that he expected.
No, definitely not.
I think I'll take it though.
That might be, Garnett picking this horse on top might be one of the most impressive selections I've ever seen because, obviously the horse was okay in his elimination, but certainly did not see that effort from him tonight, 50-4.
He pointed to trouble. In his comments, he said that the horse he was following almost went down. and that he felt like he finished gamely, and that's why he liked the horse to upset. So he was right.
That would have been Pirate Hanover, right? Last week. What is, I believe, his hoof or leg got caught in some equipment, and yeah, he almost went down in the final turn. So yeah, I mean, a trouble trip certainly could be one angle, but 35-1. I hope Garnett's got some money on this one. He might join us a little later on. We'll have to ask him, because that's just a monster selection at 35-1.
At the very least, I'm sure he's alive in the pick 5. That goes without saying. And you know what? What happens is you get a horse like a Buck-a-Bet, and he gets overbet. You know, maybe he should be 3-5. He goes off 1-9. I don't know what he ended up going off at, but he gets overbet. So other horses become overlays. And if he doesn't show up, which he clearly didn't here, I mean, even though he didn't have the best trip, if he was any good, he would have been top 3 here, you know, regardless of that trip. And he just wasn't any good tonight.
Right. I think you point out the big thing here, right? I mean, that's your huge purse. To me, seeing a horse at 1-5, I mean, strongest horse in the field, sure, 1-5 was such a short price that I would never endorse that on top dogs. Just knowing that, I mean, some of these other horses, like we've said, bad trips or might be able to improve and step up. I mean, you're still looking at 2-year-olds in general. I think 1-5 was kind of a silly price on him. Do I think he should have favored? Sure, but I think you're right. 3-5, 4-5, probably more of the ballpark you shouldn't have went off in. Instead, I think it was 1-5, Robert.
Yeah, it was 1-5, and you know, it's a great point that, you know, 2-year-olds especially can improve, you know, and sometimes regress, you know, week to week a lot more than an older seasoned horse does, right? So pretty big payouts. The show payouts are there. Exploit $73.90 to win and $47.30 to show. Every horse in the race paid pretty decent to show. Just $200 left in that pick 5, Derek. So if Garnett's alive, I mean, you know, he's going to be buying steaks tomorrow for everybody, because that's as long as he gets it, because that was a monumental knockout for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at his ticket that he put on our website, on the DRF Harness website, and that ticket is still alive. He's got 3x2 on that ticket for $7.20.
Oh wow!
Hopefully, he played it for $1. That's gonna be huge. He usually plays for bigger.
Usually, when Garnett plays, he won't just play a 20-cent ticket. He'll play, you know, 60 cents or $1 or combinations like that.
Well, I needed the whisper in that race. I guess I just had to read it, though. It was right there for me.
That's it. You know, we're putting out this great information. You just got to come look at it.
Very true, sir. Very true.
That's the thing about looking at everyone else's picks and stuff. You find stuff like this that, you know, like I read your stuff, I read Garnett's stuff, I read all these guys' stuff, because you might have missed something. And this is a perfect example of that.
Big thing too, just in handicapping in general, right? If you're going to, I don't know, if you're a seasoned handicapper and you're going to look at other people's picks, right? I think maybe they'll point something out that we missed. In the case of Garnett, it sounds like Exploit had some bad trips, had some issues. Maybe you missed that, especially if you weren't watching the replays and you're just looking at the run line and the basic form. So I think kind of relying on handicappers, that might talk you on a horse. I'd never let someone necessarily talk me off a horse. I always say that. Like, if I love a horse, I'm going for it. Like, you know, that's what I like. But in the case of this sort of thing, like, yeah, maybe if I would have read Garnett, what he said, maybe I would have put a couple bucks on the horse.
Yeah,
sometimes you have to watch a race so many times before you can actually see everything that happened. There are times where I'll watch a replay 5-6 times, just trying to get down every little bit detail that happened in the race, especially if there's some sort of trouble or the back of the pack is further back than the front of the pack, and you have to see what's going on back there. So it always pays to look at what other people have to say. Sometimes I even say, it doesn't even matter if you respect them as a handicapper. They still could have seen something that you missed.
Well, exactly. And with this one here, like, interestingly enough, the horse that kind of caused the issues last week was Pirate Hanover, driven by Doug McNair. And now Doug McNair gets the drive, you know, on Exploit to win the Metro this week. So kind of crazy how that all works out. But certainly happy for Dougie, another local guy. Not as many drivers from south of the border up here at Mohawk Park this week. Or this year, I should say, but it's nice to see another one from up here get the job done on such a big stage in the Metro.
Another thing that's interesting is Yannick had the drive on Scarlet Hanover and Caveat Audrey, chose Caveat Audrey. Scarlet Hanover technically won. Andrew McCarthy had the drive on a Buckabet Hanover and Exploit, chose a Buckabet Hanover, Exploit won.
Yeah.
So it goes to show you what these drivers know sometimes.
I mean, for sure. I mean, with this one here, obviously, he thought he had the better one in a buck of bets, and it doesn't always work out. But Mike, what did you think of the She's a Great Lady? We were discussing a little bit earlier.
I was actually out. I missed it. I was at a wedding earlier, so I didn't get to see that, obviously. So,
well, still appreciate you, getting back from the wedding to join us tonight.
Well, yeah. I mean, I left a little early. This is important too.
Nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we've all kind of shared some thoughts on the Million. What's your initial thoughts right now on the Mohawk Million?
Well, I think the outside horse is the horse to beat. I'm not. I think the filly's going to be over bet some, Donna Soprano, and I don't think that's necessarily a great group that she's been beating. So I do like Venerate quite a bit off that last 51 and 4 mile, and maybe Andrew McCarthy can redeem himself a little here now with this horse. It's just a matter of will he stay flat. That's the key, I think, to it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Derek earlier was very vocal about saying he's his big play against.
Really?
And now you're telling us that that's going to be your play for. So again, shows all the different angles. What's that?
Why against? I'm curious.
I don't like the second tier for this horse. I don't like the second tier for any 2-year-old. Certainly not a 2-year-old trotter. Certainly not a 2-year-old trotter that has made a break before. I think that the Red Mile line, yeah, it looks great, 51 and change, but I think people look at that and go, oh, 51, and he'll take more money than maybe he should. Let's look at that race. If you look at that race, the two horses that had were the two favorites that were expected to win the race, both made breaks early in the mile. So there were no challenges. There was nothing. It was like, hey, I go to the lead. I can't lose because there's no one else good in this race. So I think the line looks great on paper, but maybe it wasn't as great as it looks.
I don't think this is a great race, though, honestly. I don't think this is the best of these horses that are showing up here. I think that this is a very sporadic group that, going for $1.3 million, this isn't that sort of race here. I think, you have a lot of horses that really, I don't want to say deserve to be in here, but these aren't the best 2-year-old trotters that there are in, the entire North America. I think you could agree with that.
Oh, 100%. If Venerate was on the gate, post 6, post 5, post 7, I don't know, just give me somewhere on the gate, I'd feel much better about his chances than from the second tier, where he has to worry about, what were we? I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll pull it out. What Is No Good AM is going to do, who makes breaks all the time, and Were We Whisper is going to do, who's pretty solid, but if that horse doesn't leave, where does that put Venerate? How many lengths off the gate is this horse, off the horse in front of him is he at the start? Just worrying about what these horses are going to do with a 2-year-old trotter. I just think he doesn't come away in good order, and then he's going to have to figure out some way to win the race. And I don't know. I just think there's too much doubt in my mind for what the horse might do at a price that's probably going to be 3-1. And I think in my mind he should be 8-1.
So for me though, like Venerate can leave behind any horse, right? They've got a rule up here: if there's more than one trail, they got to leave behind the 1 and 2. If there's the 10 has to leave behind the 1 and 2. If there's more than one trailer, but in here he can leave behind anyone. I would say Venerate's the best horse, one of the best horses south of the border. I think again, yeah, Lexington's fast, but I certainly think that I know when we did the rankings, Derek, I kind of always held him in high regard. I think that, Donna Soprano, for me, is a very special fill. I firmly believe that. And she's been breathtaking in every one of her starts. And I said it this morning on a radio spot. I don't use that word too often. At least I hope I don't when I talk about, horses. But she has been. And I do believe that she might be, one of the best 2-year-old trotters pound for pound, in North America. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What do you think, Ashley?
I think she's good. I think this is the last test, but kind of circling back to what Mike had said. I mean, yeah, I don't think if you look at this field top to bottom, these are your 10 best 2-year-old trotters. And you're not going to get that the way the system works. And I'm not mocking the way the race sets up, because I think it is a really cool idea, right? This is kind of innovative. I think it's great for the sport. But with that, because the way the process works to get kind of your spot behind the gate, it's a little different. And that's why I mentioned I'm not really shocked by who's in here. It's just the way that it falls, and you look at the farms who have the spots and stuff. That all makes sense. But I'm kind of curious, going off of Mike's topic in comment about these probably not being overall the 10 best. Do you think that kind of sets up for a decent price, maybe in the exotic wagers? Because I kind of view it as, Donna, yes, she's kind of been impressive in all of her starts. And Venerate, I know we're kind of a mixed bag of apples right now. I know Derek's not a big fan. I'm a fan. Do you see, if one of them's not there, I mean, to me, this could be a huge price. I mean, especially if someone like On a Streak isn't there as well. I mean, we could see a huge upset and a big price in this race. Am I far off on that, or do you guys kind of see that maybe happening as well?
What do you guys think?
I definitely think it could be anything beyond the top two. I mean, a lot of these horses have no wins. The 1, no wins, 2, no wins, 4, no wins. That's a lot of horses that are going for $1 million that have no wins. A lot of them have breaks. So there's too many things that can happen. I do think that this Tokyo Sealster is a huge chance at a price from Off the Pace, and that's a horse that's had trouble recently. That horse could be any price in this race for sure. But beyond that, if, like Derek says, if a couple of these make a break, you run the favorites out, then it could be anything. Definitely.
I think you kind of look at the fillies in here. We talked about Alter and Instaglam and looking at her most recent performance at the Meadowlands. The fillies, to me, from at least a consistency standpoint, are some, more consistent than others in here, but obviously they're going against the boys today. And I mean, from that perspective, to me, this race is challenging to handicap, just knowing that, okay, Venerate's good, but has to have second tier. And you look at Donna going against the boys, it's challenging, that's for sure.
Yeah, when it comes to looking for a long shot, I think we have to wait for the odds to pop up on the board and see where they're all sitting. And then I can make a determination as to, what, this horse is good for this price, this horse is good for that price. Like Bravado Fashion should be 50-1. Right. Would I fall off my chair if Bravado Fashion won the race? Probably not. I don't think it would be the biggest shock in the history of the world. The last 2 races were good. Whether or not he can jump up 6 seconds, that's a big question. But I would be more shocked if Tokyo Sealster won the race than if Bravado Fashion won the race, because I just see
really
as a plotter who just comes along for a share and could grind out a check. I don't see him as a horse that's going to step forward with a big mile, unless like 5 of these break. And then if 5 of them break, obviously anything's possible. I mean, and one of them have to be Donna Soprano, because if she don't break, she's going to have a really bad trip to lose to this group.
Right. And I think you bring up a good point too, kind of like the price shopping aspect of this. And I mean, Robert's been on a bunch of these. We used to have our Thursday night shows, and we had the special edition for NA Cup. I mean, that's the good thing when we do these, is we can price shop, because we're kind of handicapping in real time. And I agree. I mean, I might look at this race and say, okay, right now at the morning line, this is who I like, but I'm going to be very curious just to kind of see how the odds start to move around for that race, just because looking at the morning line, I think money's going to go. We might see some kind of drastic shifts in odds.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and I might fall off my chair if Bravado Fashion wins. I'll be honest with you, Derek. I might fall off my chair if that one wins, only because I just can't see it. But yeah, Tokyo Sealster,
2-year-old, anything can happen.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's more likely that Alter stays flat tonight and goes to the front and runs away with it. I think that might be a little more possible.
Alter doesn't leave, I'll be surprised. I think it's 100% no-brainer that you have to send Alter and try to go as fast as you can. That's my opinion.
Exactly. Super impressive in the the New Jersey Sire Stakes, but has not been able to mind her manners since. But you never know. Jody has been driving really well lately, and we might see him keep this one flat tonight. And I think that is even though I didn't put the horse in my top 4 because I think it's probably a pretty high probability of the horse breaking stride. But that to me would be one of the upset ones. And I mean, the horse we didn't really talk about much. I know we did when Scott was on. Is on a streak, right? On a streak, was pretty good in the Wellwood. I mean, I would say that Macho Martini and Southwind Tyrion would probably be 2 of the top horses coming in here. So, who we like in race 9, we just see here as a comment. Well, this starts. I was on the hook for the pick 4 tonight, and I'm starting off with 3 singles. My best bet of the night's number 3, Self Hanover, 3-1 right now. Is just a mind-boggling price to me. I don't know if I should be happy or sad about that, to be honest, because it seems a little bit too high. 4-5 on Sunny D. If you want to go shopping there, sure, not at that price for me. Do you guys take a look at this race? What do you guys think about this one?
The only thing I like about is at 4-5. I mean, that's way too short. I feel like I've donated way too much money on her in the past and just seen how she's performed. I couldn't take a horse like her, now even money. I'd go shopping elsewhere. I mean, I agree with you. I think the 3 should be tough. Looking at others, I mean, if you're looking for some price underneath, I kind of looked at what you looked at a little bit. I mean, Hello Love's interesting. I think especially kind of at the 13-1, obviously not ideal post once again. And another one I kind of looked at a little bit, maybe for underneath. I mean, I'm a exotics better, so I'm always looking for kind of a price horse for 3rd. I thought Sand Between Your Toes might be a good horse to use there. 17-1, pretty good price.
My top 3 picks were 2, 3, and 6, which are the logical ones on the board. If I was betting right now, I'd bet the 2 just because it's the best price of the 3. I think the driver change is interesting in that Henry is not a very aggressive driver, in my opinion, and Yannick is an uber aggressive driver. So sometimes you get a driver change like that where the horse will really be shaken up and will throw in a career best type performance.
Mike, where did you land? Hey, Mike.
I didn't think he was frozen. He looks like he was moving for a second.
Frozen? Okay, I don't see the fan moving either. Maybe might be frozen on us.
Maybe is the fan off?
The fan could be off, but then he'd be a statue right now.
Maybe he has us on mute.
He might. I think we might have lost him. For me, it's Self Hanover though. 2-1 now. Here comes the late money. Should have kept my mouth shut and taken 3-1 on this one. Self Hanover 2 starts ago was just absolutely incredible. Made move to the lead and jogged.
Well, I mean, I do agree with the 2, 3, and 6 being the ones to beat. I do think the 4 is an interesting. Hello?
I think we're having some audio trouble with Mike.
Since Mike's having audio trouble.
Yeah, I think we're having audio trouble, Mike.
I will agree with Mike on one thing with the 4 horse. The Cullen Barn has thrown out a couple of really, really live horses today at big prices. He won one race, I think it was maybe like the 4th, 3rd, or 4th. And then there was a later race where he finished second at like 18-1. So anything from the Cullen Barn seems to be live tonight is worth throwing on a ticket.
Well, I think looking to Born a Dragon in general, I mean, has overcome some troubled posts and now not getting a horrible post as far as behind the gate today. Decent price too. Doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah, 19-1 on that one is definitely something I can get behind. But the journal guy definitely needs Self Hanover here at 3-1. I don't want to say the night hinges on it, but the night might hinge on this one. Here we go, going to the gate. I'm hoping Dougie's going forward. Here we go. We got Mike back now.
Often pacing.
Sorry, guys. Don't know what happened there.
No worries.
Coming out with her is Don't Stop Believing, sandwiched in between his
Sunny D, very aggressive this time.
Outside to Sand Between Your Toes.
Right to the choo-choo.
Next is Hello Love. Then Born a Dragon 7th.
It's amazing how horses get speed when they drop in class.
Yeah, it's very true, and it might hurt my my hopes of a quarter pole move here.
Found them
I still hope Dougie does it.
He's stuck in the 3-hole. There's no chance on earth he can pull here.
Hanover sitting 3rd. Back into 4th, Jim Bellina. From the inside, Hello Love is 5th. 6 to Stand Between Your Toes. Born a Dragon 7th. 2 Likes Back to Village
More
Genie.
horses sitting at 3-hole here than any other track on planet Earth.
Trailer Sunday afternoon. They continue up towards the midway point. Here's Sylph Hanover to issue a challenge. She's out of
Yeah,
third.
this is not good.
Driving after Sunny D.
You're going to have to be much the best to win.
Yeah, this is not good.
Half and 54 and 4. Heading into the final turn. It is
Not
Sunny
the
D.
way I envisioned this one. Sunny D looks pretty good tonight too.
Hanover second now. Pocket sitting. Don't Stop Believing is third. Jimbalina to the rail from in fourth. Overland fifth comes.
Sunny D
Hello
means
Love.
business.
Inside to Stand
I
Between
might
Your
get
Toes.
into this number here.
Now 3 like lead is Sunny D. Sunny D powers away from them now at 3/4. She's over there in 1:21 and 3.
21 and 3. Wow.
Kicked out. Sunny D steamrolling into the stretch. Back into second is Don't Stop Believing. Now off.
He's not on the far outside. 4? That's the 4.
It's the 4.
It's the 4.
That's why I like that little 4.
Late speed
Big
outside.
price for second.
He's almost there.
Might make it interesting. Can't get there. The wire's going to come too quick.
Sunny D
But-
win by
Very
5.
close though.
It's really one of the best angles in the sport. If you get a barn that you see does well a couple times early and they have a couple more late, it's always worth following them late.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, the Cullen barn's been hot, and this one here with Ed Hensley aboard, very strong second. It went 50 flat.
He actually had trouble last time too. He kind of had to wait a minute before he got out.
19 to 1.
I had him 4th on the sheet.
Definitely. I mean, flying late. I mean, that's
Actually, I had him 2nd on the sheet. I'm sorry, 6-4. I had it on the
Well, then you won.
I guess that's what I was gonna say until my damn internet quit. I don't know what happened there.
But did you bet it though, Mike?
I didn't do anything.
No.
It's been a kind of
hello.
a busy night.
That's when you have all the winners, when it's a busy night and you can't.
Yeah,
When?
when you're out. Oh, not usually, but I hear you.
It's the way that it always is, right? Sunny D, big win tonight, dropping down. Did not, 4 to 5, and I'll be honest, like I said, I was not a big fan of it. Picked her third in the journal. She was a much the best winner.
Those were tough races, though. That I've on a flyby and stuff. That's a decent horse.
I have a question for you, Robert, that you would probably know the answer to. Is there a carryover in the jackpot tonight?
The jackpot, that's a great question. The jackpot high five, there is a carryover, and it's a mandatory payout.
I knew it was a mandatory payout. I wasn't sure if there was a carryover because I didn't see last night's race.
Yeah, there is, and I'll give you the exact number of the carryover. Last night came in logical, so we've got $145,000 going into tonight as dead money. And last time, the North America Cup night, we did this show and we hit close to 1.5 million off a carryover of a little bit more. But of course, if you played that one, you'll know that off the 9-5 favorite with 7 to 1, 9 to 2, 15 to 1, and 12 to 1 in behind, paid almost $8,000 for a dollar. So, I mean, and it looks, the race office did a fantastic job tonight because the 12th race looks like it's wide open. And I would definitely think that anyone that wants to take home a big payday, it's worth taking a shot at.
Yeah, listen, if you're going to play, this is the race you want to play because there's so much extra value in this race. Even if they bet $1 million into the race, you're still basically wiping out the takeout, and getting the extra 14, 15% or whatever it is, in your pocketbook if you happen to hit it. It's an interesting race. There are a couple of horses that are dropping in class in the field that I would probably key in on. But once you get past the first few spots, then you start, have to go pretty deep on your tickets because anyone can finish 5th. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big fan of the all button for 5th. Me personally, it gets a little bit expensive at times. But yeah, I just looked at that race and I think that there are some droppers, but I'm not minding one of the horses that's moving up in class and Foot Soldier. I think he's gonna, he's gonna take some support tonight for sure. but I was really impressed with his last effort. But he does need the right kind of trip, and the 5 real wheel he's probably going to be blasting out tonight. But we might as well, before we got 21 minutes right now to the million. Maybe we'll touch on this and get some more insight from everyone on it. Mike, what did you like in the last?
I actually like the 7 quite a bit. Sir Pugsley, I think, gets out of the 10 hole, gets away from tough ones. Nickelbag, Casimir Ritchie, East End, pretty handsome. None of those horses anywhere close to in here. Best in Show won tonight. Tour in Hanover won tonight. So those are a lot better than I think. A lot of this is sort of like a tweener kind of. This is written it's written for numbers 11,000. It looks more like a numbers of 8,000 to me. And I think that this horse plays really well. And I like Drury getting on him too. Much better post. So I feel like he tends to kind of leave up close, and then he should be able to get a trip, I think, in there. He's one I definitely like. I'm not crazy about the 10. I think he can win, but I don't know what to do with him. He was so good last year, and this year, not so good. I mean, only 6 races, last 3 against tougher horses, but just not that great. But did kick 26-1 last time. I would probably use that one underneath. I agree with the 1. I agree with the 5. I think the 6 can get a piece of it, and then the 9, I think Better Be Going stands a better chance in this race. Was bet to 4-1 on in that last race, coming off a drop, and I thought raced okay. He was just okay. I think Christopher sits and probably tries to come late with him, so I think he probably can hit the ticket also.
Ashley, did you get a chance to look at the last?
Yeah, I looked at it a little bit. I'll be honest. I'm not going to dabble in the Jackpot High Five after NA Cup night. I made too much of a charitable donation, so I'm going to sit and watch. Save it for Tuesday at Fort Erie. We've kind of had a carryover in our Jackpot High Five, and so I believe it's a mandatory payout on Tuesday is the decision. They actually kind of suspended it for a while. No, I mean, I like Foot Soldier, and kind of just looking at second tier in here. I think in the case of Nocturnal Blue Chip, I'm not really worried about second tier, just looking at his last couple of races. I think, and also kind of looking at American Hustle and Foot Soldier, I think it's going to be okay. I don't see anything kind of crazy happening where those horses aren't going to leave the gate and just don't have that early foot. So for me, I like Foot Soldier. And then, I do like Nocturnal Blue Chip. I have some reservations. But from a betting standpoint, I mean, it is a really good field, and I know Mike had touched upon it. 5s, obviously, you kind of want these big fields. In case, not being a stake, I think that's great because you do get a little bit more variety and get horses dropping or trying different things. So definitely, I recommend wagering. I'm going to hold on to my wallet. It was a rough day at Monmouth Park. There was a horse that won that was over 99-1 that I couldn't have bet with anyone's money. So I'm just going to watch.
Wow. Well, we're joined by Mr. Garnet Barnsdale. Thanks for joining us, Garnet.
Yeah, I was driving home from dinner and I asked Nick what the price was on Exploit, and I didn't happen to say, well, why don't you throw $20 on him for me? Now that you told me what he was 24-1 at the time. I don't understand how this horse could be such a wild price when a horse went down in front of him last week and totally wiped him out of the race. But let's get the last one home for this pick 5. I got it for $1.
Wow. Who do you have?
I said you'd have it for $1.
3 and 10.
All right. Well, we're gonna sweat it with you. And of course, Garnet is the WEG handicapper for DRF and handicaps pretty much every track there is in Ontario and beyond. And right now, Garnet. Well, first of all, how you doing tonight? You had a function, and you just like Mike, you called it off early to get here.
Honestly, I bet I didn't like the early races. I bet the early pick 4. The early pick 4 starting in the 4th. I didn't like the early pick 5. The late pick 4 and the pick 5. So I'm in for about $80 right now, and I'm live for over 2,500 with those 2 horses. So,
wow.
Either whatever way it shakes out, it's not going to be a terrible night. But at this point, you want to get it home, I think.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be sweating it with you right now, Garnet. We're just talking about the mandatory payout and the high 5 in the last before we go back to the discussing the million, and just wondering what your thoughts were on that one.
I was looking at some other people's thoughts on it that I don't think match mine, but to me, I really think the 6 or the 7 is going to win the race on the class drop. I think they're both situated very well. So I kind of centered my tickets around them. I think if I hit this pick 5, I'll probably end up putting a couple $100 into this thing. But otherwise, I don't love it. I don't love it to play it as a ticket. I may sit out if I don't cash it. But I like Sir Pugsley a lot. I think he's probably going to be first or second. I think you got to kind of look at him on the class drop to maybe center around him. That would be the way I would play it.
I mean, kind of looking at it, my thoughts were it's a wide open event, and listening to everyone talk about it, it certainly seems that way, because you say 6, 7. I like the 1 and 5. Obviously the 10, merits respect on the drop. It seems to me that everyone I've spoken to, even outside this show, has a different opinion on this one. And
every time we say it's wide open, it pays $800 or something. So,
well, I'll be honest. Like the last time, I mean, look, it was pretty logical last time, and it paid $8,000 for $1, $1,600 almost for 20
Yeah,
cents.
I think there's value in it even when it chalks out. I think because there's we know that there's people playing huge tickets. I think there's actually more value in these things when they chalk out. If that makes it probably doesn't make any sense, but for small players, I don't think any of us play huge tickets. If you play a ticket under $100 and you hit it, and even if it's logical horses, that's when the whales money comes to us. I think so. When it comes in and pays $40,000 for $1, there's a very excellent chance I'm never going to have those. I think, unless exploits on top. But that wasn't.
I was going to say you needed that race to be the high 5.
Yeah, no kidding.
What's Derek? What's your ticket structure going into a wager like this?
I think that you have to key a horse. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Key a horse and then try to work around a couple other horses in the sequence. And that's what I would do in this particular leg. And the fact that Mike and I like basically the same horses, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think Sir Pugsley is going to win this race. I think he's dropping in class. I like the driver change. He's on the gate, which is always a good thing this week. And I'm keying in around Nocturnal Blue Chip as my second horse. So I'm going to play 7 with 10 with a bunch of horses, 7 with a bunch of horses with 10. So I'm going to play the Sir Pugsley to win and try to play Nocturnal Blue Chip to be in the numbers somewhere, second or third. I don't love post 10. We've already discussed that earlier. It's not my favorite spot. This horse is dropping way down. Andrew McCarthy's a nice plus in the bike. I think he should be there somewhere in this race.
You guys might agree in the last, but you don't agree in this one. So I smell a side bet on Venerate. I really do. I think we need to see that tonight. And oddly enough, looking at the board right now, I mean, Donna Soprano 2 to 5. I knew she'd be the favorite, but I was not expecting 2 to 5. I think today when someone asked me what price she'd be, I said she's going to take more support than most would think, and I still had her at around 6 to 5. 2 to 5 is ultra short. Now, again, that might still even out, but oddly enough, Garnet, you got the 10 alive in the pick 5, and Venerate's actually the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've always liked Donna Soprano from the first time I seen her. Look, there was a race where she raced from the 9 hole that I was actually at the track, her second start, and a lot of things went wrong for her at the start of the race. I believe she left, and then a horse kind of circled around her, so she got in a little bit of a switch. She had to check up. Then a horse broke in front of her, and McClure just floated her out and kept going. And to me, she was phenomenal. To me, that night was the night where I thought, this could be a really special filly, because most 2-year-old trotters would not have won that race, and especially not as impressive as she is. But a race like this, going for $1 million, we know they're going to race. I didn't necessarily want to single her either, so. To me, Venerate looks like the most next logical possibility. I don't love the 10 hole. I never do. But, I feel pretty good having 3 and 10 here and see what happens.
What do you feel about on the street here? For me, on the board right now at 13 to 1, I think that's the best play right now as far as the value you're getting for the horse. And if I had Garnett's tickets, I would probably be making a win bet if I can get 13 to 1 on this horse.
Yeah, I think he's an overlay again, just like he was last time. I don't know if he'll get the same trip. I think he was a beneficiary of Gingras and McClure kind of playing a little bit of cat and mouse on the backside. And then once Yannick decided to go, I think on the street kind of had too much left in the tank. But that being said, who knows, right? I mean, at 12 to 1, you got to think he's an overlay.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think I slotted.
I wish I had him on this pick 5 tickets, paying $27,000.
$27,000.
Wow, man, that's so bad.
Just a thought here. I mean, you got a bunch of horses in this race that could potentially break. Donna Soprano's not known for her, blazing early speed typically in these races. If On the Streak leaves, which we assume he will, if Instagram leaves, which I assume she will, and let's say Alta makes a break, as she usually does, this race could come away 7-9, 9-7, and then, Donna Soprano's got to chase them, and, if she can blow by them, that's great, but still, that could leave the 9 in a pretty good shape if a bunch of them break and she comes away in the pocket or on the lead.
Yeah, I definitely think that if they had their choice, they wouldn't be, so far inside, to be honest with this horse. I mean, they chose post 7 in the peaceful way with Donna Soprano. And I think that was kind of a testament to how well she raced from the 9 hole in the Pure Ivory final, where I actually bet her stablemate Descentra, thinking that she might be the better one. Boy, was I ever wrong when this one blew her off the track in the stretch. But, with does anyone remember her first start, by the way, before the gate?
Yeah.
Did anyone see it? She galloped for, I would say, at least a good 10 to 12 strides. And I know a lot of people
coming around the turn.
That canceled their tickets. I mean, she was probably about 3 to 5 or less. And yeah, I was someone who kept my win money in. There was quite a few people that were waiting for her first start. But she galloped a long way up to the gate. And I'll be honest, it was interesting because I kind of always was worried about that with each of her starts afterwards, because it was, to me, almost miraculous that she went back to the trot and then was so dominant. But she hasn't really put in a step after that. That's what is fascinating to me, and that's why, I have complete and utter confidence in her tonight. But at 1-2, yikes! I can't bet any 2-year-old trotter at that price.
I have a question. What would you would be Queen be in this race odds wise, or Rubies Are Nice, or Dicentra? What would their prices be, you think?
50 to 1.
Exactly. So this horse is 1-2 on a horse that's been beating up on not doing it well, but I just don't understand this at all. I mean, she's good, but she's not 1-2 good in this race. It just doesn't make any sense.
Other than Venerate, right? Who in this field has shown that they can go as fast as Donna Soprano?
Nobody.
That's why she's 1-2.
Right.
Well, the 7's gone. The 7's.
The 7 won one race in his career, and it was 54-3.
A second slower. That's 5 lengths, right?
Yeah. And people look at that effort too and say, by a head, got a pretty soft half and kind of life and death to the wire. But I mean, like when we talked to Scotty earlier, I mean, that's a pretty good colt that he held on against, right? So, and I guarantee you, at no point, anyways, until maybe the final 16th, did Yannick think he wasn't going by. And of course he just couldn't. I mean, On a Streak was just too tough on the front end. But yeah, I mean, I'll admit, the price is floating up now. We've seen it a lot now on this circuit. You guys, Garnet and Mike, you'll know this, that the Luke Blay horses, I know this is a $1.3 million race, but they always take the early money. I mean, there's overnight races where a horse should be 8-1 and he opens at 3-5, right?
Yep.
So
Macho Martini in his first start opened up at like about 2-5 or something. I had a nice ticket on him that night because I used him. I think it was a pick 5, but we're kind of looking at like, what can anybody know, right? Because his last qualifier was in 2-4. I think he came home in 57 or whatever, but 2-4 was like 5 seconds slower than everybody else, and he won like a champ from the 8 hole. But they always take early money. You're right. So I don't think it means much of anything. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those guys of the belief that early money means almost absolutely nothing 99% of the time now, because just because somebody bet $200 on a horse, which is, the pool at 15 minutes to post represents 5% of the total money bet. So who's to say that guy knows anything more than the guy that bet at 1 minute to post? To me, that's something from the 1960s, but that's for another day to discuss, I guess.
Ashley, what do you think right now? I mean, 3-5, it's floating up. I mean, even if you're not betting the race, what price should this horse go off at?
I think even money's about right. I think. I mean, I'm kind of buying into a lot of what Derek says about being on the inside and speed horses on the outside and stuff. Some things could potentially go wrong for her. So I wouldn't take less than even money if I was going to bet on her, I don't think.
Yeah, Robert. I mean, I was going to say even money or a little higher than that. I mean, it goes back to, and I don't care kind of what the race is, whether it's the Mohawk Million or just 2-year-olds in general. I mean, you're taking a short price, and we've seen a lot of 2-year-old races on the Thursday night version of the show, right? I feel like every time we've been on, you're like, oh, Dan, it's your favorite night. We got a bunch of 2-year-olds. Matter if it's standardbreds or thoroughbreds. I mean, they're just so unpredictable. You know, I hate to use an example, but on the thoroughbred side today, when I was at Monmouth Park, these people are seeing these 2-year-olds act up, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so shocked." And I'm like, "But they're 2-year-olds. Like, this is like taking a kid somewhere, right? I mean, they're naive, they're green, they're still figuring it out." And looking at this race, yeah, there's a huge purse attached to it, but you have horses that haven't won before. I mean, it's a head scratcher. Anything can happen. I mentioned horses like Alter, who, you know, tend to go off stride and make a break and things like that, and that adds another element. And I just think any horse below even money, it's just silly. I don't really care if the horse wins by a nostril or wins by 20. It's just too short of a price for me. You know, if I really like the horse and I think, you know, the horse that's 3 to 5 is going to win and a 3 to 1 shot's going to run second, I'd rather just watch the race from a betting perspective. Like, I'm always price searching. And if I can't see the price, I mean, we've all been guilty. I'm sure we can admit sometimes you reach for prices. You're like, oh, you know, at this price, this horse is good. And sometimes you're still reaching now when you really think the top 2 are the short horses. And maybe this is a race to, you know, kind of sit out. For me right now, I like Venerate. I'm not a huge win bet person in general. I mean, if the price is right, I will, but I'll also kind of hammer the horse in the exotics. So, you know, that's a strategy. But for me to bet down a Soprano and Venerate, I'm not going to do it. I'd rather sit here and enjoy the race and know that my wallet has the same balance. But we'll see as far as exotics go, as far as the try. If I see the odds change enough, maybe I can, you know, kind of mess around with the ticket and build in some value. You know, kind of connecting this to the Jackpot high 5. And I think Derek's the one that mentioned, you know, you might have to single in one spot. For me, I'm either going to single a horse that I feel like is consistently, you know, racing second and might be a talk, or I'm going to look for that price horse that I'm like, I'm going to key this horse for 4th because I think this horse isn't as good, but is going to go off at 30 to 1 and can get the job done. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch on the Thursday show. So, I mean, right now we're seeing 3 to 5 and 9 to 2. It's not enough for me. Just seeing where the odds are elsewhere. It's not like looking at Venerates like a 9 to 2, and there's a couple other horses in that sort of price range at like 6 to 7 to 1. There's just one other horse on a streak at 7 to 1, and everyone else is double digits. So I know the exacta is not going to pay much. So at this point, as far as an exacta is concerned, I'm just going to sit and watch.
For me, this is a really key part coming up right now. The horses are coming out on the track. This is really what's going to make the decision as to what I ultimately bet. I want to see how they warm up, and Woodbine does one of the best jobs in the industry of showing these horses score down usually twice before the race. It gives you the opportunity to really take in the horse and see, does this horse look hot? You know, does this horse look on the muscle tonight? Is the horse a little wild? Like, especially with 2-year-olds, this is going to be a key moment, and, you know, at least it should be a key moment in your decision-making process.
Yeah, absolutely. The score downs, especially with 2-year-olds, is of just huge importance. You know, and lots of money. I've saved lots of money before when watching a horse score down and seeing them put in steps, and hopefully, you know, we'll get to assess that very shortly as the horse is going on the track here. Full of muscles, still a maiden, but someone I do have a friend of mine that likes this horse. Based on the fact that, you know, might be able to pick up the pieces, or, you know, if things kind of go awry. I don't personally see it. 17 to 1 actually seems like, I know the horse was 9 to 2 in the morning line, but 17 to 1 or 16 to 1 now looks like a short price to me.
I bet him last week, and he got a miracle happen for him in the stretch, and he still came up short. A couple horses broke, and the Red Sea parted, and he had a clear run basically almost from the top of the stretch home, and I thought for sure he's going to win. He couldn't make it, so I don't know. I couldn't like him in here.
I predict he will still be a maiden after this race is over.
Well, that's one I definitely won't do a side bet with you on, because I think that you're betting safe money with that one. But you know, it's interesting. I know Dan, you know, he's obviously not with us on the air right now, but on Thursday nights we would discuss it a lot. What is the over-under on breakers in here? What do you guys think?
1.5, I'd say.
1.5.
I think 3.
Really?
I
I'd
think
I'd take under 3.
I put
Oh, smell some side bets coming on here.
2 is the
I-
smart bet. It'd be a lot of push action. Half will take all the vig.
Yeah,
Probably.
2, maybe 2.5. Then that might be the number if that's what you think, right? If we're in the middle there, 1.5, 3, 2.5, and hopefully it's the under. Obviously, we're hoping for the under there. I want to see a great race, but again, it just speaks to the unpredictability of these horses. All right, so we're being cued here to give a superfecta play for the Mohawk Million. What do you think, Ashley? What's your super?
I mean, I'm a veteran fan, but I would not kind of single again. I mean, to me, I'd use 3 and 10 on top. But kind of looking at the structure from there, we're talking about horses to single, and I know there's kind of mixed opinions in this crowd tonight. To me, is a horse that I would single for 3rd or 4th on my ticket. Not for exactly where, but looking for a price and a value, and kind of, it was mentioned that Tokyo kind of picks up the pieces. I'm okay with that in a race like this. You want to run 3rd or 4th at 19-1, I'll use you. So in my case, I think I'd use Tokyo. I'm kind of on the fence, but maybe for 3rd if I'm trying to sneak the price up higher on the ticket.
All right, Mike, what about you?
I would probably keep the 10 on top, and then I would try to get value under. I would probably use 1, 3, 6, and 7 in 2nd and 3rd, and maybe go all for 4th.
All right, Garnet, hot hand tonight. What do you like?
Yeah, I like the 3 or 10 to win the race. Aside from that, if I was going to use a price horse, I don't mind Jim Campbell's horse, Bravado Fashion. I like the 27 and 4 identical kickers at the Red Mile. Comes into this race good, coming into this race in the right way, I think. So I would probably use him underneath somewhere. Aside from that, I just want to see. I don't want to see anything crazy happen on the front end.
All right, and Derek, very well, Derek.
I'm gonna go with my numbers will be 3, 7, 8, 9. No 10s.
3, 7.
Just tossing. I like it.
Derek likes the 8 too.
So I'm married to my selections. People get mad when I stray from the journal, even though I had to write this what seems like eons ago right now.
That's tough. That's tough. I feel you.
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't get to see the board, which, I mean, that happens to all of us. But I did these selections on Tuesday, and I went with Donna Soprano on top. And my words were, she's my clear top choice for Mohawk Million Glory. Not a 3 to 5 though. I mean, again, she's still my pick on top, but I couldn't bet her to win. That's for sure at that price. Venerate for 2nd. Really like what this horse has been doing, and super impressed with his last score, even though it's a fast mile over a super fast track.
Looks good out there, I think, right there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, there you go. So there goes the our broadcast team doing a fantastic job showing Venerate scoring down and looking really strong out there right now. There's Donna Soprano just being kept calm by Bobby. On a streak for 3rd, Instaglam for 4th. Instaglam to me is the horse that is very intriguing for me. The Pennsylvania Sire Stakes is a pretty tough circuit. I like betting horses that come from there, and she had to race against a lot of really tough competition. As Derek mentioned earlier, did not like her last race so much when she did the Meadowlands, but I think that they're not going to have her here unless they think she's got a big shot. And 11-1, probably a bit shorter than I'd like to see from the 9 hole, but I think she definitely has a chance in here. Just taking a look at number 5. That is Alter. I'd like to see her score down because she's one that does make breaks. All right, Mitten State Sports Report likes the 7 on a streak. I mean, I think we all think he's got a chance, don't we?
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, Scott Young was on here earlier. He certainly seemed pretty confident. Didn't seem nervous, that's for sure. I'll tell you that. Maybe he's still floating from his score in the William Wellwood, but this is definitely the biggest stage he's ever driven on. And I think he's definitely up to the task tonight. And again, I think we'll know pretty early, because if he gets away with the lead or gets spotted close to the lead, obviously that would improve his chances. 6-1. I actually thought he might get a little more overlooked in here, to be honest. because I didn't know if people would respect that effort in the Wellwood, but here we are. All right, Ashley, any other thoughts on the race?
No. I kind of agree with you with Honest Streak in general. I thought we might get a little bit better of a price in this case. To me, I still like Venerate. There are some question marks, but from a price perspective, 7 to 2 is always better than 3 to 5. But, on paper, yes, those are the two that kind of stand out. Kind of looking at how I think the race is going to unfold, I think it should be pretty formful, but you just don't know. You have these horses that are, in case, a couple cases, they're maidens, they're unpredictable. But, like I said, I didn't think this was a race where there was a ton of value. I was very blunt about that. To me, it was all 3-10 on paper. Went to the 10 just because I thought there'd be more value. In the case of Donna, she's tackling the boys tonight. Going to have to step up just a little bit, but she is. She has been flawless so far since we've seen her. But from a price perspective, like I mentioned, if I were to single anyone and you go for a price for third or fourth, whether it's in a try or super, to me, it'd be Tokyo Sealster, who just continues to drift up, kind of looking at the way the odds have just changed in the last maybe 60 seconds. 23 to 1, now 24 to 1 as I talk. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, pretty, surprised by that. I am surprised by that price. When I was asked the other day if there was a horse that I thought could maybe, surprise and get the right trip, but that was the horse I kind of thought might have the potential. We on the Thursday shows earlier in the year, this horse was dominating the OSS and then kind of seemed to fall off a little bit, but here we go, 10 seconds to post here. We've kind of evened out a little bit in the odds. Well, they did when the Venerate went down to 5 to 2, now back up to 7 to 2. Donna Soprano 3 to 5. Like I said before, that price is too short for me to jump in. And do we all agree that was a little shorter than we thought?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Way too short.
4-5, so a little bit shorter, but
multi-talented 2-year-old trotters.
$1.3 million Canadian on the line, $1 million US, and listen, this has been a race we've been waiting for a long time. 9 spots for $110,000 US each. And of course, the golden ticket winner on a streak with a chance to should be a great race to watch, guys. Good luck, Garnet. Listen, we'll always cheer for Garnet.
Rooting for you for sure.
Donna Soprano well off the gate.
Here they come.
Now closing up to it.
One is no good. AM. They're off and trotting. Big start in the center. Tokyo Sealster trots out. So too does Honest Streak.
Venerate kind of got
inside his altar.
Bothered a little bit by the rail horse.
He got basically what I expected.
That's right. But he's going to follow Donna Soprano now.
Rail.
Oh, one behind.
4 wide going into that turn for a moment.
Crazy action.
Should have the opportunity though to get out behind that one. Yeah, we got lots of action in the front end. I guess. Go for 1.3 million. Why not, right? On a streak now, trying to clear over Alter, who stayed flat.
Inside
Bobby's got to go now.
Instaglam.
He has to.
Can't
wait.
Going behind this
Going to get cover. It looks like.
7th popping out is Venerate.
I don't want to be behind this horse if I'm.
Me either. I don't want to wait for cover.
No, behind Instaglam. Is that Instaglam? Yes.
It's a decent horse.
That's not too bad.
And Instaglam is making a big, bold, powerful move to the front here.
Instaglam has got the hammer down.
Put the pedal to the metal.
Yannick Ginger out of the front now on Instaglam, 56-1 over the half.
Goes back into
Donna's first up, Venerates.
Overland from in 4th. Donna Soprano
is following.
Trots full of muscles, and with the cover, Venerate up into 6th.
Very interesting how this has played out so far.
Venerate actually worked out.
Loaded.
On a streak. 3rd outside.
So is Donna, I think.
Instagram's coming back to them. Bob looks pretty. We haven't seen Bob get too busy yet.
Stretch. That one's got a sting.
Like Derek said earlier, if you got the best horse first over, it's not a bad place to be. This is the race now. Donna Soprano and Venerate.
Bob's got plenty.
Here to
Venerate
Venerate now, and Venerate takes.
And Venerate
is trotting up a storm on the outside.
Getting up.
Deep stretch.
It looks like Donna's trying to paddle back, but no, Venerate gets the job done.
Little perfect trip from the 10 hole. How about that?
You got a perfect trip.
Venerate over Donna Soprano, and a bunch of them, in it for third. But these two were leaps and bounds. The best in here, 53 and 2.
Nice ticket on that pick 5. Really nice ticket.
Beautiful score by Garnet Barnsdale.
Yeah, I was. Thank you very much. I was yelling. Nick somehow can play the video of the race from HPI on his phone and transfer the sound to my car radio. So I'm hearing it, and I'm screaming, "Go, go, go!" And then when I hit the wire, I'm like, "But I didn't bet him flat." So now I have to hit the pick 5. Right? I'm going to be going to hit my head against the wall.
You know,
So,
I'm just glad, Garnet, that we went partners.
Yeah,
so
the check will be in the mail.
that's perfect. I appreciate that, sir. I'm glad that I took a piece of the ticket tonight. But you know, look at the odds. Of course, look at the last click, right? Venerate.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he was. You would have thought they would have been fairly close. I think if his nose was on the gate, they might have been like even money, or even money 6-5. I think that might have been a deciding factor for some bettors. But
2-1, and you know, Donna went off of 4-5. Who got third, guys? I was too busy watching these two.
It was pretty close. It was kind of like a little shuffle.
Looks like Scotty on a streak.
Yeah, and there was a breaker. I don't know who's on the inside there, the 2 or the 4.
Yeah, Alter made a break, and I didn't see who was on the inside there. But you know, I guess you could say we got some redemption for Andrew McCarthy.
And good on the connections here. You know what? Brad Grant had a slot. He went out and found someone, you know, who found probably the best horse he could find in the U.S. that was willing to come. And Julie and Andy Miller were willing to send their horse up here after having just raced on Sunday. So good on all these people for winning. You know, you got to be happy for them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That you know, I think from what I heard, and Derek, you probably know better than me, Brad Grant wanted this one. He wanted this one to take his spot. And I just heard an interview, you know, at the Jug. The Connection said that you know, they were more than happy to give this race a try, especially going for so much money. And hey, the horse full marks for the effort. I mean, just you know, obviously the two of them were much the best. And Venerate, you know, gets the job done. You know, Journal just chalky. I mean, I picked the 3 on top, but 10-3-7-9, 3-10-7-9 was my selection of the Journal. But yeah,
certainly takes away the sting of the DQ when you win the $1 million race, right?
Oh yeah,
I had that horse on top too, the one that got DQ'd. I had a lot of winners tonight, but I just want to point out what a great move by Andy early. Like you mentioned, he was a little bit hampered at the start by the 1, but he made a great move to make sure he got going fast off the gate. After that happened, get behind Donna Soprano, and I can't say enough how impressed I am with the driver that Andy McCarthy is. He's just absolutely, look what he did here with the British Crown last year. Like he is for me, he's top 3 in North America. Top 5 for sure, but for me, he's top 3.
No, I think Garnett's really hit the nail on the head. I mean, you look at like the success in general, but like the drives that he gives these horses, I mean, he really is strategic, and I think he makes really smart moves, and they pay off. I mean, he's had a heck of a year. And you know, earlier we talked about Exploit, right? The other one for Alanya, but you know, I think about this year in general for the two of them, between Tony, the year that they've had. I mean, Tony winning, you know, with Ramona Hill. It seems like every week, every time I, you know, look at something, right, it's Ramona Hill, but Little Brown Jug, all of that, and just Andy McCarthy's success. The two of them, they've had stellar years, but Andy's, I think, really fun to watch, you know, drive horses.
It's a bit surreal. I'm watching this, and you have a horse trained by Julie Miller, normally driven by Andy Miller, the connections of Pinsky and Andy Miller. Not one of them is in the winner's circle because of COVID, and it kind of really, it strikes you. They won $1 million race, and none of them could be there.
It's crazy. I you know, think about it a lot. I think about how much I miss going to the Jug this year because we just couldn't, right? And it's just I love going to the Jug. It's just the whole experience of it. Even whether I'm working or not, it doesn't really matter much. It's just so much fun to be there. And anyway, yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know. I'm going to say the Blue Jays, whoever's asking that question, because I have to. But the other thing I want to point out to the viewers, if you subscribe to the DRF Harness newsletter, you could have had that $36 Pick 5 ticket that paid $25.06 that was published by Mr. Givner in this week's edition. So you better start subscribing to the newsletter.
Absolutely. I know next time I'm going to play your ticket blind, Garnet, because that was some impressive capping tonight, sir.
Well, I'm not sure I recommend that, but thanks.
DRF.com/harness. Just click on newsletter. You can subscribe. And as Garnett will always tell you, it pays to follow DRF Harness.
It does.
Absolutely. It certainly does. And listen, guys, it was was a fantastic evening with all of you, and we appreciate everyone sticking around for all of it and the Mohawk Million. I think we'll all agree that it was a fantastic race. Ashley, any final thoughts on it?
No, I mean, it's kind of what we expected. I'm happy to see Venerate. Obviously, I really like the horse, but kind of what was touched upon, Garnet mentioned it. Obviously, it's been really weird, right? You can't go to the racetrack, or even for the connections, right? They can't be there, especially with shipping across the border. It's definitely made it difficult this past year, but luckily we're still racing. We're still having that, and everyone can experience it. I'm sure the connections are partying from home a little differently than they would be at the track, but no, big performance. Venerate really kind of overcame the bad post. I think that's probably the biggest concern for most of us. We'd mentioned the post is not ideal, but overall from the races that I got to watch tonight, some big performances, and we'll see kind of how the rest of the year shapes up. Not too many months left in 2020, which hopefully is a good thing, right? It's been a rough year, but still some big races ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And again, yeah, like you mentioned and Garnet mentioned, certainly COVID played a pretty big part in, who was in this race, and even the trust involved in sending up a horse like Venerate, and racing, north of the border, and probably having some different people involved in handling the horse, especially the driver. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Andy Miller's the only one to keep this horse flat in 5 of his 6 starts, and now Andy McCarthy goes out there and does that tonight. But again, listen, just a fantastic night of racing, and I think that while maybe the field wasn't what it could have been without COVID, I think we saw 2 of the best, and they battled it out pretty heavily to the wire there, with Venerate getting the best of it. But Mike, where can we find your stuff, sir?
NahooPicks.com, and usually me and Rod and Ray, sometimes when he decides to show up, are on Friday nights or Saturday nights doing some shows like this, covering all kind of places: Running Aces, Meadowlands, Woodbine, Hoosiers coming up with the Breeders' Crown. We'll be there actually that night. So NahooPicks.com.
Fantastic. Everyone, make sure you check it out. Mike does a great job and provides picks every night at Mohawk Park. And Derek, where should we go to find your stuff, sir?
drf.com/harness is our online portal, and you can find us on DRF Harness on Twitter, on Facebook. And I just want to add in, what turned out to be a pretty darn good race, and I really just hope that next year they decide to do this again and give it another shot. Obviously, COVID affected it this year. I think it certainly affected some of the horses that may or may not have shown up. I think we might have seen Captain Corey up here if not for COVID, but I don't think they wanted him to part with his driver, Oki Svanstedt. So I'm hoping that everyone will come together and give this another go and see what it produces next year before, rather than just saying, some of these horses didn't show up, so we don't do it again.
All right, sir. And it was amazing, and fantastic just being able to collaborate with you, working on this and the rankings for the Mohawk Million in DRF each week. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing a great job with it, with those rankings, and hopefully we do it again next year. Hopefully. Garnet?
You can find my DRF Harness full card analysis for Mohawk on the site that Derek just mentioned, but also on Facebook or Twitter. I'm at GoCashKing. I post them every day without fail, and trust me, if they're not posted by 1 hour to post time, I get a bunch of people messaging me asking for them, which is not a bad thing. And I also do pretty much every B track in Ontario with the help of Mike Carter and Melissa Keith for Ontario Racing. You can find it there on picks from the pros. And lastly, I am remiss if I don't say go Bills at least once before the show ends.
I forgot to put that in the bio earlier, actually. Ashley, my lovely co-host, we know everyone tuned in to just see you tonight. I mean, just a superstar in the sport. Where are you going to be next?
Well, you can always find me on Twitter. I don't like this Go Bills stuff. I am from Buffalo, not a Bills fan. The Steelers.
What is wrong with you? You're gonna get. You better not be a ranch person too, because then I might have to defriend you.
Love ranch. But next, catch me next weekend. I'll be at Maryland for the Preakness.
Awesome.
So it's not the Bills.
Steelers fan?
I'm not a Steelers fan, but I will just say Garnet knows the answer to this. Everyone gets it wrong. If you look at the Bills, their main rival in the AFC East is
New England,
right?
The Jets?
Oh, it's the Dolphins. The Dolphins.
Yeah, that's true. Well, their historical rival, yes. Absolutely.
I'm on
What's the fish?
That's not too bad. If you're a New England fan, we'd have some words.
now, but my dad was a big Merino fan, so kind of was like I was raised around, and well, it's stuck, unfortunately.
Pittsburgh boy, Reno.
He was born in the wrong generation because Jim Kelly took care of him virtually every year. But anyways, we digress.
I'm gonna have a rough year. I'm a Panthers fan. It's gonna be a rough year for me, but I'm okay with that.
Just get Trevor Lawrence and you'll be fine.
That's what I'm hoping for. Let's go. Let's tank. Let's get Trevor Lawrence. But again, I'm Robert Reid Jr. AKA the Journal Guy. You can catch all of my selections every night. There's racing at Mohawk Park in the Horse Players Journal, and follow me on Twitter at Robert Reid Jr. But thanks everyone for tuning in tonight, and thanks to our amazing guests for such a great evening here and bringing in the Mohawk Million. And hopefully, we'll be back again sometime soon for the next big race at Mohawk Park. But again, for America's Best Racing and Mohawk Park, thanks for tuning in tonight and have a great evening.
Bye.